Ah, my neighbors love me.
Yeah. Okay, I got a dolly. I got 2 more bolts back there. Hey, what's up? Like my setup? Got a jack on the muffler end and a dolly way the fuck over there. Yeah. That's how I'm dropping this exhaust.
I need to find a place to store this. Probably gonna put it in the shed. But it's actually not that heavy. I was able to get it out and carry it back here without scratching anything. Except for wood and the exhaust on concrete. But it's a fucking piece of shit, like, stock exhaust setup with a secondary cat deletes and muffler deletes. Well, no, it has mufflers. I mean, resonator deletes. See, the plan was to pull it off of these brackets right here and yank the exhaust out from here so I wouldn't have to pull off the mufflers. But as it turned out, these wouldn't come out. You know, all that thermal expansion. You're not gonna separate that without some serious fucking effort. It's easier to just pull the whole thing out.
Currently removing all the drive shaft bolts. And the counter hold is an 18. Right in there. You can't fucking see it. Right up there. So, I don't have an 18 wrench. I had to improvise, and it fucking works. So I just found out something funny while removing these heat shields. Apparently the fucking Hulk tightened these bolts down. I didn't know he worked at BMW. It's pretty cool. Alright, just got the drive shaft down. Supporting each joint. Supporting those with zip ties. I got these on fucking wooden blocks. As to not stress either joint. Fucking, dude, this drive shaft says M3 somewhere on it. So I think it might be out of an M3. I know this thing has an LSD, which I can show you in a second. But one thing I wanted to note, if your BMW is not missing at least half of these heat shield bolts, there's something wrong with it. You should probably get it warranted or sell it to me. I'll buy it. LSD. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the main reason I bought this car. It's a fucking 335i with an M3 diff. That's awesome. Cool. So now that the drive shaft is out of the way, we can start prepping the transmission to be dropped. And we have to start with this asshole motherfucking piece of shit clutch slave cylinder, which you can't even see the second bolt. It's fucking like way up there. I fucking hate this shit. This is gonna be a pain in the ass. I don't know if I can actually do it with the tools I have, but we'll try. Alright, I got one nut out from the bottom. I'm not even gonna bother trying to get the one on the top. I'm dropping the transmission anyway, so I'll just deal with that when I get there. When removing O2 sensors, I like to mark the ones that came with each other with a zip tie. The other set, you don't need to do anything. So, zip tie to zip tie when you're plugging it back in. Nothing to nothing. See, now, why did they put this bell housing bolt right here? So close to the fucking transmission. I can't even get a fucking... It's not all the way on. There's no way to get this all the way on. I might have to use like a fucking swivel socket to remove a tight ass bolt like this. You couldn't have fucking lowered it by like a millimeter? It's fucking retarded. There's an old saying, the engineer will walk past 5 naked women just to fuck the mechanic. If you use a bunch of extensions and you have the drive shaft out, you actually can get that top nut out of the slave cylinder, which is what I did. You have to go from the back of the transmission in. It actually was pretty easy. I'm glad I thought of this. Alright, shift carrier, shifter, a little DSSR thing, I think that's what they're called. The bitch clip for this thing was missing on the transmission side, which is slightly concerning. This is an aftermarket shifter. It was held in with Allen key bolts. I have them under there. I gotta put them in a bag. But I don't know what brand shifter this is. Also, N54. Oh yeah, it's tranny day. Actually gonna start off today by loosening these 4 crossmember bolts. 1, 2, 2 on the other side. This is the current setup. Got the drive shaft on some wood blocks. Got the crossmember supported with the jack. Got all the bolts out. And now I'm gonna start, brake drop this a little bit and hammer away at this bell housing bolts. See, what the fuck is that bolt placement? Like, what the fuck? It's not even, you can't fucking put something even straight in there. That's so fucking stupid. What the fuck? There's supposed to be a steel E10 bolt right there for the bell housing, as you can see, and it's missing. Now, BMW was the last to work on this car. They pulled the transmission and fucked the clutch up, and they also forgot to put a bell housing bolt in. Don't take your car to the fucking dealership, please. So that guy in yellow, that's Nathan. Nothing about removing transmission from cars, but he's a tranny expert.
Oh, that was the engine.
Damn right, bitches.
No, the engine.
Look at that.
No way he was
In the driveway. Alright, so I pulled the pressure plate off. It's right there with the clutch. And I just loosened all the flywheel bolts. 8 of them. It's an 8-bolt crank. And I just used a screwdriver. Fucking wedged it in there. You don't need a fucking locking tool or anything like that. You know, they make the ones that bolt like right here and hold onto the teeth. That's for pussies. You just use a damn screwdriver. Unless you actually care about your flywheel, then maybe use a locking tool. Now, my suspicions were confirmed. This is a spec flywheel. This is it right there. And it previously had a spec clutch. Pretty sure that's like the stage 3. And then this is a spec pressure plate. It's blue, as you can see. Now, this spec clutch that was originally in the car, as you can see, is broken. Springs are all fucked up. Not to mention it had a bunch of wear on it. It had some life left, but you know, this clutch wasn't going to last too much longer. Not to mention how burnt the fucking pressure plate and the flywheel are. Now, BMW broke this clutch. I'm not sure how, but the car was taken in for an airbag recall. And they replaced it with a stock clutch. They did it for free, so I'm assuming they broke it. It's an admission of guilt. But this clutch is not compatible with this pressure plate and this flywheel, which is why we were having the issue we were having. So I'm probably just gonna ditch all this shit, sell this, sell that, and then put OE dual mass flywheel with a 335 IS clutch back in. This clutch rattled like a motherfucker. Not the clutch, the flywheel. Single mass flywheels on the N54 are known to chatter. That's just how these gearboxes are. There's no real way around that, except just don't put a single mass flywheel in your car. But if you're pushing, you know, high power numbers over 400 wheel torque, 500 wheel torque, or 500 wheel horsepower, people say you start to misfire in the high RPMs. But I'm not planning on going that high with this car. This car's probably going to stay around 450 at the wheels at the most, maybe 475, but I'm planning on staying under 500. I think that's a good number for a reliable daily. Also, look at the fucking friction surface. It's not even smooth right here. There's like dents in the fucking pressure plate. Dude, this flywheel is fucked up. So is this pressure plate. So this is how the pressure plate sits on the flywheel with the spec clutch, the one that's supposed to go with. Not a lot of room, and once you bolt it down, it should clamp together fine. Now with the OEM clutch, I'm not sure if you can really tell, but there is a lot more space in between the pressure plate and the flywheel. I think that's why this clutch didn't work, because this clutch is just too thick in the way that it sits in between the pressure plate and the flywheel. Rear main seal is out. I kind of did it differently from other people. I put a screw in one end. Actually, first I tapped a hole with a pick, with a hammer, just a little bit, and then I, screwed this in, and then I took the hammer like that and pried it out. Not directly on the surface. I put something down as to not scratch any metal. It's actually not that hard, but was a little bit annoying. Took a little bit of time to get that in right. Well, I put the crank seal in backwards. Totally on purpose, just to show you how not to put it in. Alright, got the new main seal in the right way. I used some fucking, I don't even know what it is, some epoxy shit on the side here to seal this. So on first start, this bearing, or not bearing, this fucking seal doesn't spin with the crankshaft. Also oiled this and put a shit ton of RTV around the seal because I do not want this to leak. I'm not doing this job twice. Brand new dual mass flywheel right here. New bolts over there, and I'm gonna use some red thread locker on those bolts when I get this bitch back in. And this fucking dowel pin was bent. I hammered it a little bit and unbent it. I think that's why this bolt was so hard to get out. But let's get on with it. Alright, clutch is in with the new dual mass flywheel. Flywheel, this is an 8-bolt N54, this is 07, it's the first year. So it is 8 T60s, torqued to 89 foot-pounds. And then the clutch, I had to use this tool. This tool is the one you have to use for this clutch and flywheel. The kit came with that tool and this tool. This tool does not work because the thing on the flywheel, the pilot bearing, let me flip this around. The pilot bearing goes in like that. It's actually on the transmission and not on the flywheel like most cars. So not sure what cars you can use this tool for, but not this one. Then I tighten the pressure plate down to, well, you have to torque these in a minute. I just tightened them by hand all the way down. These are 6mm hex heads. And I think they get like 18 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. But most people just tighten these by hand, which is what I might end up doing. I don't have a torque wrench that goes down that low, I don't think. So yeah. Fuck yeah, I got the damn clutch in. 335 IS clutch. This is a strong motherfucker. Alright, this pilot bearing doesn't want to come out. So we're going to heat it up with a torch. This pilot bearing has taken advantage of me for the last time. I'm gonna fucking Dremel it. Of all the fucking things that worked, it was a grease gun trick after I fucking Dremeled halfway into the bearing. Dude, that took so much fucking hand strength. Like, that fucking hurt. Fuck that. Piece of shit fucking bearing. So I just pulled a little shift selector rod joint off of the 6-speed here, and I noticed a little bit of grease in the bottom, and I started scratching at it, and I realized it wasn't grease. That's actually this piece, but it's been fucking disintegrated. That's wild. It's just black and squished to shit. That's why you should change that. This is the reason for a lot of slop in the shifter. It had a UUC short shifter, and it was fucking just shaking all over the place. Now you know why. Be sure to change this if you're going to drop the transmission or change your shift linkage. That's very important. Well, I got it out. Out with the old and in with the new. That's an insane fucking difference though, dude. It's literally just disintegrated. Shifter shaft seal has been removed. It was a bitch, but I ended up just taking a flathead and hammering it in straight all the way till it bottomed out, and I started hammering it from the top, like diagonally, and it pried it out. That was pretty easy. New shift shaft seal installed. Looking good. Alright, that's the little thing back in place. And now, dude, holy shit, there's like no play. I mean, there's play, but it's a lot stiffer than it was before. That's a good thing. It actually feels really good. Before, it was just like going back and forth all loose. This is how it's supposed to be. Now, that probably fixes most of the slop in the shifter. I'm also going to change the other bushings. Not the carrier bushings that go here, but the one that goes like fucking up there. I'm going to replace it with a, what is it, polyurethane one from Turner Motorsports. I was going to put it on my E36, but I'm doing this car first, so this one's going to get it. That's going to be nice. But yeah, that was pretty easy. Only took me fucking an hour. Cleaned up the cross member, changed the mounts, and I just cleaned up the mounting area and cleaned up the bolts and everything. The old ones actually are not that bad. They're dirty, but they're not fucked up or anything. And then I cleaned the mounts on the transmission, of course. Reduces wear on these fucking things. Pilot bearing is in. I used a mallet and a socket or some shit, I don't remember. I'm gonna have to grease the inside of it and the pivot pin. The pivot pin is brass and I couldn't get it out. I have a steel one, but it looks perfectly fine and I know it's been on the car for a minute, so I'm just gonna fucking leave it. Don't ask me how I did it, but the transmission is almost 100% back in the car. I need to remove the cross brace because the engine tilted and I'm gonna have to jack it up from somewhere else, but I'll do that tomorrow. All right, everything is torqued under the transmission. Cross brace is torqued up. Not really torqued, just hand tightened, but Guten Tag, whatever the fuck they call it. Now let's talk about the shifter. Yeah. Okay, so this is a UUC short shifter. So you can tell it sits very far to the right. Like, I don't think this shift linkage was made properly. So there's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then it doesn't really like to go into reverse. So I'm ditching the UUC shit, and I'm going with Auto Solutions, because Ronald at Auto Solutions, he came in clutch a few years ago. I bought a used E36 shifter, and I sent it to him. He rebuilt the shifter. I only bought the arm and the shifter itself. He sent me a DSSR for free, and for the whole thing, he charged me like $80. And I was like, holy shit, this guy's amazing. And I found out he is the only one that actually does shit at Auto Solutions. He's like the only guy. It's his business. So I'm like, I want that shit in my car. Plus, it's like OEM Plus feel. So it's not too notchy like this UUC shifter. Like, the shifts are notchy. Like, it's a very notchy shifter. I don't know how I feel about that for a daily. So I'm just going to go with Auto Solutions because that guy's a fucking beast. And fuck UUC, they make shit quality products. Look at this. If you flip it 180 degrees, it sits like up here, the shifter. And you put it in third gear and you fucking punch the damn infotainment thing. You know, the radio, whatever the fuck it's called. So, fuck UUC. Now, as far as like next steps, I got the intake manifold off. I just removed the intercooler and I pulled off the fan yesterday. I drained the coolant, and I think I'm ready to put the engine on a support bar and start getting at those rod bearings, which is gonna fucking kind of suck. Never done that before, but I can probably do it. Can't be that hard. You know what I mean? How hard can it really be? Very.